Mayapur. I'm really happy she's serving in Mayapur now, my oldest daughter. So yeah, I stayed at the manor, but I was like a friend of Krishna when I came at the manor. I had no desire to join. I never thought I was going to become a devotee, but when I came at the manor, Prabhupada just left. The day I arrived, he left, so I didn't see him that time. But at that time, you just heard Prabhupada say, everything was Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, we do like this because Prabhupada said. I mean, it was all done on how Prabhupada trained the devotees, you know. So I never spoke to him. After coming to the manor, then my baby got sick because it was winter, and at that time, I tell you, the manor was very austere. It was not like now. It was a proof for me Krishna exists, how they could maintain it still, but there was no heater, there was no hot water for shower.
Just like us now.
It was very austere. No, I am in that little cottage, you know. My God, it's so fancy inside there. The brahmacharini, they're like princess. I have a mattress this big. They have mattress this big and hot water. I mean, it's good. It's good. Like I was just speaking to my husband, and he said, if they have that now, it's because they deserve it. So it's true. I have to see it like this. It's what the people deserve. People don't get, you know. Anyway, it was more austere in that time. And so I never spoke to Srila Prabhupada, but I saw him. After the manor, I went to Amsterdam. I stayed there in the temple. And actually, if you know some of the manor devotees, there I met Mother Jesta. She's around here, Jesta. So she was brahmacharini there. And I was with my baby. Mother Nabaswati was there. And Vishvadevi was there. Mataili was there. I mean, everyone who was there is still a devotee. I was living with them in the ashram. And it's so I met those English. I mean, they're not English. Jesta is from Amsterdam. But anyway, I met those devotees there. And then we heard that Srila Prabhupada was coming to France. So now it was like 6 months we were living amongst devotees. So we said, okay, we will go see him. So you see, I'm French. I'm born in Paris. My parents are born in Paris. But then they moved to Canada when I was the immigrant, when I was 13. And I find the French Canadians so much more nicer than the French people that I make a vow. I make a vow when I was young, never return to France. I said I will never return to France. They're so proud, they're so condescendant. I don't know how you say that. Comment on dit condescendant? Yeah, you know, they think they're better. So all the French people who were in Montreal, in Canada, you know, they were thinking like my parents, that they were so superior to French Canadian. But French Canadian are such sweet person, you cannot imagine. They're 100 times more sweet than French people. So I had made that vow, I will never go back to France. But then they say Prabhupada was coming to France, so I say, okay, we go to France to see Srila Prabhupada. Because now it was 6 months, and you just heard Prabhupada said, Prabhupada, you know, you do this because Prabhupada say, you live like that, you take your, I mean, it's changing your life. I mean, your Indian body. But for us, it was all change. You go to the toilet a certain way, you take a shower a certain way, you do everything a different way. Maybe you should close because I see I'm by the sun and you're having difficulty. Yeah. So I mean, I like to have the sun, but maybe it's difficult for you.
No, it's fine for us.
So we came to Paris, and before going to see my grandmother, who was still in France, my whole family was in France. But I have not been in France for 10 years, so when I came back, because I said I will never come back. And then anyway, we stopped in Paris Temple, and Bhagavan, who fell down now, but actually I must say he was a very good leader. He saw us, he spoke to my husband, it was my first husband, not the one I have now. And he knew the devotee, my husband, at that time since 5 years when we joined, yeah. Since he was a teenager, he was going to the temple in Montreal. But no one had convinced him to surrender. Anyway, it took 2 hours to Bhagavan. He was a really good preacher. He was a very good preacher. And he was a sincere devotee at that time. I mean, all what he has done for Prabhupada. And I live in the Grihastha ashram next to him, and he was as austere as us. He was sleeping on the floor, just had 3 dhotis and all that. But so we stayed in Paris, and then Prabhupada came, and I saw Srila Prabhupada. And when I saw Srila Prabhupada at the airport, my first thought was, he's like on the picture. Because then everywhere was pictures of Srila Prabhupada. And everyone is speaking to you, Prabhupada said this for this, and you have to do this like that. And we were not listening to Prabhupada class, actually. Devotees were giving class. Prabhupada always wanted devotee to give the class. But, they were speaking from Prabhupada books and from their realization. But so, and it was, so I lived there for the first time when I was in Paris. The whole, Prabhupada is coming. And so they were putting the last touch of paint, and the last piece of marble and the last thing before he came. And it was really nice. So I saw him and I bowed down. But I thought, he's like on the photo, but he's so small. I thought on all the photo, I thought Prabhupada was taller. But Prabhupada was really short, actually. I mean, I'm very short. He was Indian body. And then he came. When he was speaking at first, I couldn't understand what he said. I learned English here at the Manor. I didn't speak English before. And after that, Prabhupada stayed like 1 week in Paris. And what Indradunam Swami was saying yesterday, some people heard, or the other day, I don't remember. I was just following Indradunam Swami and many talks. Prabhupada received a lot of very intellectual people that week, very different people, priests and else people and people from university. But just he was giving the class in the temple. So I saw Prabhupada, I heard Prabhupada, but I never spoke to him personally, never. But when I had then that time in Paris, because I had a baby like that. She was little older than that. Satya was 2 when I was in Paris. And Prabhupada received the Grihastha who had children. And at that time, all the children were that size. They were between baby to 3 years old, something like that. So I had 1 child, so I went, and it's the time I got the closest to Prabhupada. He received all the parents with the children, and he gave them cookies, like that. And devotee asked different questions, and he answered. And then I saw him from very near, like it was a room like that. It was his room in Paris Temple. That was the closest I was to Srila Prabhupada. And it was nice. The only thing I remember from then that some people asked if the children should be vaccinated. Yeah, it was because they were all young children. And Prabhupada said yes. He said children have to be vaccinated. And they say, we do homeopathy or allopathy. And Prabhupada said, no, we have Kali Yuga body, you do allopathy. And he said that. I was surprised. I mean, my baby was vaccinated, but I was surprised. And I don't remember. But there is photos of that time. And I have a photo where Prabhupada gives a cookie to Satya. It's on the fridge, to my daughter. And then after I stayed there in that temple, already Radhaparisi Shwara were installed. But they were looking, Prabhupada said, so you must have heard by now that Prabhupada from that time was saying that in 50 years, that was 73, and Prabhupada said it in 73, that all, how you say in French, I have to find the word, all civilization based on petrol is going to fall apart. Prabhupada said in 50 years it's going to be finished. He said that in 73, yeah? So, and he said we had to get a farm. So they were looking for a farm, and that summer of 74, because then it was 74 when he came to Paris. Yeah, it was 73 when I was at the manor, then there was Christmas, blah, 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 it changed. Then I was in Paris in 74, and Prabhupada said we had to get a farm. He visited few places, but not New Mayapur, I think, and we could not get those places. There is some photo where you see Prabhupada taking prasad next to a car. That's in France in 74. But me, I really wanted to live in the country, and I was telling the GBC Bhagavan that my kids, she's always sick in the city. I have to go to the country. And he said, we're going to get something. Don't worry, we're going. So actually that year, 74, they purchased New Mayapur. So I stayed 1 year in Paris, and the next June we moved to New Mayapur. By then I was pregnant of my second baby, which is the one who went to New Mayapur, Krishna Mai, the one who takes care of the guest house now, yeah. So she's the first baby born in New Mayapur. I mean, not on the property, I went to the hospital, but she's the first baby born yet there with devotee living. So we all moved in 75, and then we were there in June. We moved all June time, Well, at that time, devotee had no car, nothing, so they all moved in the Spiritual Sky truck. The Spiritual Sky had a truck. They were selling Spiritual Sky products. And actually all the family, and there was a lot of English family at that time because there was some problem in your Yatra years ago. And change of GBC, Goya staff, flip. And then we had 10 English family moved to France with their babies and everything. And even some brahmachari, English, one of my godbrothers is still around. No, I forget his name. But he moved to France, few, okay. And but everyone moved in the Spiritual Sky truck in the back with no window. But I was pregnant, so they pay me a train ticket. And Krishna Bhamini had a baby born, just a baby born. So we were the only two who traveled by train. Everyone else had to travel in a shut-down truck. Anyway, I arrived there. Then Prabhupada came just to see New Mayapur. He was in between Iran and England. And he stopped in France for 24 hours. So he stopped in Paris Temple. So I was not there, I stopped. And then they drove him to New Mayapur. So New Mayapur, we just moved. So we had no Vyasasan, nothing. So what they did, devotee, very clever always, is they put Prabhupada Vyasasan from Paris Temple in the truck of Spiritual Sky. And they drove it. And the one who driving Prabhupada car had the instruction to not drive too quickly. So the Vyasasan arrived, because Prabhupada was sitting on the Vyasasan, he get down, and he went in the car, then they had to get the Vyasasan, put it in a truck and drove it to New Mayapur. And actually they put it in New Mayapur, where they put the seat now to give class, where the devotee give class there. Yeah. Then they put Prabhupada Vyasasan seat there. Because as soon as we arrived, that big room was destined to become the temple room, but it was the plan, but So it was wood, the floor and everything. but we were not using it as a temple room. The temple room when we moved there was next to the prasadam room, the prasadam room where we sit on the ground. So that was the temple room. And because the chapel, where is the shop now, was a real chapel, there was chapel bench. I don't know what happened to them, very nice one. So we used a chapel bench to make the altar, and we had just a picture of the Panchatattva, and that was the temple room then. But when Prabhupada came, then they put the Vyasasana, and Prabhupada spoke. I remember Brahmananda was there. So my child was not born, I was pregnant, I was huge. I was sitting behind Brahmananda, and Prabhupada spoke. It's actually recorded, and it's in a BTG. It's just about self-sufficiency. Prabhupada really wanted us, Prabhupada was so avant-gardist because those many years ago, he knew everything is going to fall apart, and we have to become self-sufficient because it's going to fall apart, so we better get it together. So he just spoke about what we have to plant or what we have to do. We have to build a wood house and all those things, And of course, we have to become Krishna conscious. And then some devotees, not me, I was a new devotee, I was a young mother, and my service was the kindergarten, but they spoke to Prabhupada about so which deities we are going to have in New Mayapur, the one who were already Brahmana, Pujaris then. So first Prabhupada said we should have, they wanted Radha and Krishna, the one who went, his name is now Tamananda. He was a long time at Pujari in Paris and after in Bombay. So he spoke with Prabhupada, with Bhagavan, and they wanted Radha and Krishna, and Prabhupada said no. You're too fallen. He said, you have to have Gonitai. And then he spoke about, I was not there, that's what I heard. So he said, he spoke about Gonitai. And then he said, at the end, why Gonitai is actually good, because actually, you must know by now, Gonitai doesn't take any offense. So it's why Prabhupada installed Jagannath everywhere, Gonitai, because you don't commit offenses in worshipping. But if you worship Radha and Krishna, you can make offenses and get resolved. But the puja of Lord Jagannath, you can even take him in the toilet, Prabhupada said. He's the most merciful, so it's why there was Jagannath in a lot of temples. And then Gaur-Nitai, because they are very merciful and they don't take offenses. But then at the end of that conversation, Prabhupada said, and you can have Krishna Balaram. Well, there was no Krishna Balaram then. Prabhupada gave instruction for Krishna Balaram just in Vrindavan. Then he came to New Mayapur, he said we should have Krishna Balaram. And then he said that for in Australia for the farm. But that's the only place. So we were the second temple where Prabhupada said that we should have Krishna Balaram, because in Australia it was later. And so everyone was surprised. There was no Krishna Balaram in the world. And then he said, and later on, maybe you can have Radha and Krishna. He said that. But first they built just 2 altars in marble there. First they built that. Where is the altar? They built that. It looks like the temple room, but it's built by the devotees. That big room was a ballroom. And when we got the temple, because it was army men who had got that place before, so it was a pool room, to play pool. Yeah. Before us. And the little round room was the bar. There was a bar there. We removed it. And the one who owned the place and sold us the place actually stayed with us for almost 8 months, I think, 7-8 months after, because he was building a new house on the other side of the road, what is Shantipur. where he put all his men, and they built things there, and he made his project there, and he sold us the piece of land, which is New Mayapur. But he was staying with us, and he was staying where are Prabhupada quarters. So the first time Prabhupada came, we had no quarters for him. So he stayed in what was Bhagavan office then, which is now Gopalapriya, où elle habite là. One of the girls' ashram, Prabhupada stayed. And I remember the devotee so they got, we had no beds at that time, it was Maya, no one had beds, no one had mattress, no one had pillows. Not even the children, they all slept on the ground, the babies also. And so they bought for Prabhupada une armoire closet? Yeah, a closet which makes a bed. Yeah. And they put it in Bhagavan room, and then Prabhupada slept there. So Prabhupada arrived, the Vyasa arrived, Srila Prabhupada arrived, but he just stayed like 24 hours. He arrived in beginning of afternoon, he slept there, he gave class the next morning, and then he left. That was in 75, Prabhupada came. But he gave instruction, he received the managers and the leaders like we have now. And then he gave direction of what we should do. And then in 76, Srila Prabhupada came back. Oh, Krishna's mercy! Moi, je vais bouger. It's all right, you do it. It's very nice, I never speak. Yes. Please come here. I have to speak now. No, I'm not going to speak in front of you, no. Okay, so in 76, Srila Prabhupada came back after a year. Prabhupada used to go around the world, and then he was visiting temples. So in 76, he came back. He was supposed to come back, but actually, so he came to England first, and he was really sick. And then devotee in New Mayapur were working crazy, like, Prabhupada is coming, so the garden, making his room, because he had no room, so they were making his room, fixing, getting the deities ready, the outfit ready, everything. And then we heard Prabhupada is sick, he's not coming, and everyone went, oh, everyone was devastated. So Bhagavan, who was our GBC, came here at the manor to see Srila Prabhupada, and he begged him, he said, you have to come. And Prabhupada said, no, I have to go back to India for my health, He said, I have to go to a very warm place. So Bhagavan said, oh, you can come. It was a drought that year in France was really, really hot. Such a drought in 76 that actually some animals were dying in fields. Army had to help the farmer to bring water and food. No water, very, very hot. Oh, poor baby. So Bhagavan said, oh, it's very, very hot. Prabhupada is okay, but he said, but I cannot climb stairs. And they said, there is an elevator. So actually in the castle there is an elevator. We just work at that time. And he said, yeah, it will work. We have an elevator. So Prabhupada said, okay. But Prabhupada said, I have to rest. there could not be noise. And Bhagavan said there will be no noise. All the devotees were out of the temple.
Whoa.
Everyone had to go, what you call the barn, no, but it was not a barn. We call it the washing place before because there was washing basin and everything. All the devotees had to move out of the castle, so there was no noise. So just Prabhupada stayed in his room. So Prabhupada agreed to come. No noise, elevator, very hot weather. But so he came, he actually stayed for 10 days. But at first we could not see him. I mean, he arrived, then he gave a lecture on the Vyasa-san. Then he went to his room, but after he was not coming down from his room at first. So there was all the Sankirtan devotees who had come, and they were told to go back in Sankirtan.
Oh my God.
Because they were not going to be able to see Prabhupada because he was sick. And I don't know the one of you anyway who know Adi Shekhar.
Yes.
He was a Sankirtan boy, so he said that he wanted the area around the temple, so he stayed with his crew. They stayed. And after I think 2-3 days, Prabhupada started to go out. But he was not coming down for the morning program, but he could hear, because it's just above his room. Yeah. Could hear everything. So then we were allowed all to go to the temple, and we knew Prabhupada was hearing us. So everyone was chanting very loud during Guru Puja and everything. And then, but one day he just came out of his room and he went around. And then it was, Prabhupada is gone. So devotees were coming, and little follow-up. People started to follow him. And after he did that every night he went around like 5 o'clock and walked across the garden, walked towards the guest house. And there is the water tower at the guest house, so it makes shade. And so there is that little field facing it, and he sat there every night at the same place. And he gave class there, sitting on the grass. And it's there he gave that famous class, Where is the Difficulty? Where is the difficulty?
That's when he says a lot of times, Man Mana Bhava Man Bhakta, sloka.
I don't know, I'm not good in sloka, so...
I think that's
But I remember he said one thing, he said, you don't need to go anywhere else. He said, you can go, if you stay and serve here, from here, you can go directly to Krishna. And I remember Gopaswami asked a question, how we do to see, but what can we do to see Krishna? And it's so difficult. Prabhupada said, you cross the garden and you go to the temple. Prabhupada was very practical. And after he was ashamed, Gopaswami, Prabhupada said, it's very easy. You cross the garden, you go. And then Prabhupada installed Krishna Balaram. Gunitai had been installed for Prabhupada in December when we were there. But then he made the installation ceremony. But he was weak, he was sick, so we see him bathing, but it was actually Jayatirtha who made the ceremony, and Prabhupada just stand up and put a conch shell on Krishna and one conch shell on Balaram, and he went back and he gave a class. The temple was full, very full. People were coming by the windows, because actually what happened is, I was telling you, Prabhupada was going around the world, and he was stopping, like, fortunate, always here in London. London is, for everyone, all traveler, is a good spot between America and India. So he was passing by London. So we had devotees from everywhere, even Sweden, German devotees, Swedish devotees, people from everywhere came to see Srila Prabhupada, especially because he was sick, and after New Mayapur, he was going back to India. So he was not going to go anywhere else in Europe. He was just going to jump. He was coming from America. He stopped in London. He flew to. So he installed the devotee, he gave the class then. So that's the second time he sat on the Vyasasan. Actually, Prabhupada sat just twice on that Vyasasan.
The marble one.
Yeah. He looked up and he said, oh, and they said they were going to build, but it was not finished then, the dome, you know. The Vyasasan was not finished. And yeah, so nothing happened to me especially then. But I have two friends who were young devotees like me, and then they got to see Prabhupada. So one of them was, where is actually the office now, you know, the office in the corner next to Prabhupada room. So that was the office at that time, and the phone was arriving there. At that time we had normal phone. So she was the secretary, so they locked her up there. She was not allowed to go out to make noise. She had to wait for people to come replace her so she could go to the toilet. She was locked there day and night because we were receiving calls from all over the world. So, but one day she heard someone knocking on her door. She opened the door and there was Prabhupada. And so she bowed down. And Prabhupada said, where is everyone? I'm alone in that castle. He had come out of his room and there was no one. Maybe the servant had gone somewhere or something. I think Harikesh was his servant. No, Sitala's husband. Harisori was his servant that time. I don't know. The servant was not there. So Prabhupada just walked out of his room. So he asked her name and what she was doing. And she hardly spoke English, but then she saw Prabhupada. She got the mercy. He told her thank you for her service. And then I had another friend, Mahima Busana. She left her body long time ago, around that time. And it was Adishika's wife. And so in Prabhupada room, the one who decorated Prabhupada room at that time, they came to London to do the shopping. And they saw at the manor it was gold leafing, you know, already in Jayati at that time he had put gold leafing in the temple room. So they thought, oh, we should do the same in Prabhupada room. They got Prabhupada bed in England and his bedding and the curtain and his plate. Everything came actually from England. And the cloths to cover his seat, you know, they went shopping in London. And so they were gold leafing around in Prabhupada room, but were not, it's not gold, it's brass. But it's very long, you have to put the glue, you wait a little bit, then you put a little bit, then you varnish, then you do a little thing. It was taking hours, and everyone was taking turns. And two of my friends, and one had a little baby. Govindaji, elle était petite. Hein?
That's the now managing the Gopal restaurant in Tours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
It's the little baby.
the little baby, yeah, she was small. But anyway, so two of my friends, they worked really hard to finish the gold leafing around. So they were chosen to be the one cleaning Prabhupada room. It was kind from the leaders, devotees. They chose those two ladies. And they told me that, so they were coming, they were cleaning, and Prabhupada was going to his bedroom. He has a bedroom in Mayapur, like here, and he has the room. And so when they were cleaning one morning, suddenly she felt, Mahima, and Ragini also, but she left her body, they both left their body, those ladies. She felt someone was looking at her. Yeah. She was cleaning the floor, and then she looked and she saw, there is a door, it's like here between the two rooms, and there was Prabhupada there looking at them. And he also told them, thank you very much for their service. He went back to his room. So they got the mercy. They were simple mother, new devotee, but they got the mercy. But I didn't get to speak to him. I didn't get to go near him. Just I had to put, what I remember is that installation, I know where I am on the photo because I remember there were so many devotees and I had a 6-month-old baby, but heavy baby in my arm, and everyone was pushing, so I actually put my feet on the Vyasasana on the side to not go further because my baby also was sleeping and it's Krishna Mai. I had her in my arm and then I was holding on the Vyasasana so they don't push me because we are so many and people were climbing by the windows. So then I was near, but and I know there is a photo. He's looking at Satya, also my oldest daughter. But what I always say is I was trained in that time that if you do what the temple commanders say, if you follow the instruction of the president and the GBC, you please Prabhupada. And so I never spoke to him, I never wrote to him, I just tried to please my authorities, and that's it, it's what I've been doing. And so by serving ISKCON, for me, I'm always serving Srila Prabhupada. Actually, for me, Prabhupada has not really left because I had, it's not a fortune, but because I didn't have a close relationship. When he left his body, it was terrible, but because by Krishna's mercy, ISKCON went on, so I continued to serve in ISKCON, and it was the same. And I said in Mayapur, I think the last Vyasa Puja, there is a BTG, French BTG, it's very old, and I found it in my mother's house because I am in it, so she had it in her thing. And it's when that famous, Manker? Model joined. She joined in the same time I joined. So the big Paris match came and they make, So my mother found out I was a devotee because that news magazine, like Life, but French, it's called Paris Match. There was a whole article about that famous model who became a devotee, and in the photos, my mother was at a hairdresser. In the photo, she saw me. And she said, "What's happening?" They took us in They pretend we were living in the forest. They take us in Bois de Boulogne of the mother with the babies and the model in the middle, So there was a big photo and I was there holding my kids. So I don't know what I was going to say. Yes, so my mother had that magazine. She has the Paris Match and she has the first BTG where I am in. And so I got it in her place. And then there is a photo and Prabhupada walking with the devotees. And one day I look at that thing and I told my husband, I said, "Oh my God, there is already 7 devotees who left their body on that photo." I was counting this one left his body. My husband said, No, I said there is 6 devotees. My husband said, no, 7. I said, no, 6. And he said, Srila Prabhupada, but for me, Srila Prabhupada has not left his body. So when I look at a photo, I never consider, Prabhupada left his body, It's I just see the other one, they left their body, but I never consider. And we have the deities, and I don't know, we have the movement. Prabhupada gave us the biggest family, and I'm so happy. Even when I come here, I see old friends, people I know for so many years, but also young people. They're no more young. I used to go in Poland in the beginning, Polish tour, to see Indradumna Swami. So they were 20 in 92. My first tour was 93. So I met a lot of them. Like you have Gorangi here, the Polish Gorangi. Yeah, she's very active. So I met her, she was 15. She was on the Polish tour. And now I see them all because a lot of them are settled here. But now they're almost 50. But it's family. For me, they're family. When you know someone, so it's my Polish families, and then I have my, the devotee I know from India, and the devotee I know from here now. I was in the things, and so many of you approached me and they said, "Oh, Mother Visesa," and I say, "Oh yeah, they came They are the devotees who came to New Mayapur. So it's nice you're increasing my family. I'm very happy. I think the biggest gift for me that Prabhupada gave us is the devotee association. We couldn't go on. It's something really different. I just been to see my family. I go see my mother and my brother, but
In Canada.
in Canada. But it's not the same, you know. I mean, they're family, but it's very different than seeing devotees. It's very, very different. Very different. So I'm so happy you came. I didn't think I was going to see you from close. I'm so happy Radhumna Swami was here yesterday for your initiation. And then you got also close to him. And it was nice, he did the kirtan. And it's true, when you walk in, you look like Lord Chaitanya. That's true, if you don't. But I felt it was, I felt I was very fortunate to be there. First, I'd never seen a sannyas initiation. But I was there and I was thinking, oh, Prabhupada, you're so kind, you make me come here. And because I came to see Radhumna Swami, and then everything happened, and you took sannyas, and I was there, and there was everyone, the big kirtan. And so I'm very grateful. I'm very happy I've been here. And I'm very grateful to be part of that big family. And I want to thank you for helping us in New Mayapur, because I tell the people, I know him. They're surprised. I said, you're so fortunate that the manor is there all the time. I say, he brings people to New Mayapur, he makes seminar there. Radhumna Swami was surprised. He said, how come you know him? He said, I don't know him, you know him. I say, yeah, because I say, he brings people to New Mayapur, big group. So I'm very happy you're helping us in New Mayapur. Very, very, very thankful.
You can tell us something. I heard one time in New Mayapur, there was no electricity and things like that for many years, but devotees continued to stay there and serve the deities. I don't know the details. Maybe you can.
You know the details.
Mother Visesa doesn't want this kind of memories, only the blissful memories.
Actually, for me, it was bliss at that time. People say, oh, you stay, but I think Krishna made the arrangement, and we were like empowered. I never think of leaving. It never crossed my mind at that time. Sometime after, I wanted to go, but at that time, when everyone left, I couldn't imagine leaving the deities. I was at Pujari then, and I was serving the deities for a long time, and I couldn't imagine my life anywhere else. And a lot of because we were 200 before, and a lot of my friends who were American, English, a lot of American, they went back to their country. Everyone went back to their country. But for them, actually, New Mayapur is their home. It's still their home, and I'm very close friend with Radhumna Swami, former wife, and Bhagavan, former wife, and now we were speaking, and we were thinking we were going to stay there all our life with raising our kids there. It was going to go on. We never thought one day it was going to fall apart and there will be no water, no electricity, no go, nothing. And we never thought. And I feel very grateful I could have stayed. But people say it's me, but it's not me. They don't know. It's because it's my husband who is so fixed up. And even though he was Bhagavan disciple, he didn't flinch. When Bhagavan left, it didn't disturb him at all. He even told me later on he had a dream that Bhagavan was going to fall down. So when it happened, He was not surprised, and it just it never crossed our mind that we were going to go, and we stay. We stay 9 devotees, and 6 big deities, 6 mouse deities.
More deities.
Yeah, there was more deities than devotees. But what was really hard for me at that time, it's some devotees were saying, there is too many deities, we have to put them to sleep. Everyone was flipping out, and so many people went to India and went here and there, and they were having meetings, and they were saying we have to put the deities to sleep, and they even wanted to build bugs, and I was saying, no, but it's crazy, why they want to do that? For me, it was unbelievable. But what you don't know is actually after that everyone left and everything, we even got Radha Parisishwara in New Mayapur. We had 2 temple rooms, because there was we had a big property like the manor next to Paris, and then we lost everything was falling apart. And they arrived in New Mayapur. Actually, they arrived the night before Radhe was born. but she's called Radha Govinda Madhava. She could have been called Radha Parisishvara. But I like Radha Govinda Madhava. Indra Swami gave her a name. He gave me an envelope with her name before she was born. So, but yes, they arrived like that. Unexpectedly, we got all the deities from Paris, and they had to build, my husband said, they had to build the altar and everything, and they set them in that room next to the temple room. So we had 2 temple rooms. We had Jagannath and Nitai Sachi Sutta, and we had 2 Mangalaratiks. We cooked for all those deities, which was crazy, you had to do 36 samosa, 36 chapati. We were just eating ma at that time because we kept the standard for a long time. I was adamant. People say I burn a lot of people because of that. So I was adamant. We have to continue, and we have to do what Prabhupada said, and cook the offering. I was not doing all the offering at that time. I had a baby, so I was dressing the deities. I kept on dressing all the time, but I was not doing all that. Actually, my husband was doing most of it, and he collapsed. Actually, one day he just collapsed in the toilet. He woke up. He was in the toilet. He had collapsed. He collapsed. But everyone. But some devotee, Krishna always makes arrangement, One devotee came forward and he was alone. A lot of people don't know, it's Brihaspati. He was collecting all the money just to maintain the deities by himself at that time. And then my husband created IRGM, because we could not be ISKCON, we had problems with the government and everything. So we had to create another association. So he created l'association Radha Govinda Madhava with the name of the deities. And then that devotee was giving money for that. He was giving a lot. He was giving 3,000 francs a week. Just him collecting. Because all the Sankirtan people, they left. I mean, it was a big thing when Bhagavan left. It was a big thing. But at that time, it was, yes, you empower. I was in my bubble, I had, my husband was not disturbed. I had my baby. Plus, the only difficulty was for my 2 oldest girls, Satya and Kata, because they had all their friends left. They were in the Gurukul, 70 children. Suddenly, they were just them who were older, and then the little babies who stay, So for them, it was difficult. I had to put them in Karmi school. I was crying. But they stayed. It was tough for them. But we had no electricity. Yeah, that's true. We had no electricity. They cut us everything. Because we had no electricity, we had no water, because we were getting water from the well. So then we had to switch to the Karmi water. And we use, we use oil lamp. After we use gas lamp. after my husband was, because now he's sick, he cannot do so much, very on demand. So we got a generator, and then we're putting the electricity 2 hours on the altar every morning to dress, 2 hours at night. At that time, I was plugging my washing machine. But in our rooms, we had, so during those hours, there was electricity. Otherwise, devotee go buy candles, gas lamp. Krishna protect us, we did not fires. And it went on for a few years, few years like that. And no phone also, they cut us the phone. Because we used to have a pay phone in New Mayapur, and we used to have some workers. They find out, and they were Indians, they find out that phone broke. You could call anywhere in the world and not put coins. So a lot of those Indian workers, they were calling India. They called their family. They find out before us that it wasn't. And then the devotee from America, everyone find out that the phone was blocked. Everyone phoned around the world. Of course, it went on for some time, but then one day they come, it's 80,000 francs of bill phone, because still it was, but it was their fault. They should have come before, but the company. So to get back the phone was really, really hard. It took years. And first they just allow us to have a phone, one phone number, to receive calls. And it was that devotee, Brihaspati, devotee don't know, but Brihaspati helped so much. He went to the company and everything, and then we got after a few years, we got phone, but just to receive, not allowed to call. They didn't trust us. It took many more years so we could have a number where we could phone ourselves, But Krishna helps you in those kind of situations. He helps. You can see Krishna working, It was not... For me, it was not terrible time. I didn't even know we didn't even own the castle anymore. I tell you, I was really in my bubble. I mean, I live in the castle, above the kitchen. I stayed there for years with my kids. I saw people were coming, taking measurement and everything. I was thinking, what they're doing here to our place? What they want to buy? I knew they wanted to buy. But my husband explained me lately, because they're making a books for Bhakti Swami. He wanted to write a book about the saving of New Mayapur. So someone was enregistré, comment on dit?
Registered.
Recording my husband. So I heard things I never realized that actually we had lost the castle. But they couldn't sell it because we were still living in it. So people were like, that was pushing the people off. And it happened something really far out last year when Max's father came.
Oh, yes.
So that man came. I had my table selling the things of my daughter. And I see someone came and it made a big turmoil in the entrance. And I was thinking, what's happening? And a tall gentleman, but gentleman. It's not
a high family.
High family, it's not Srila family. He was there, was speaking loud and everything. And after she comes, she explained me that man came to see his son, who is a woofer.
He came as a volunteer with his wife 4 years ago, and then they came again 6 months after, and then they came again, and they came again, and now then they decided, okay, we will drop everything in Paris and we want to move in New Mayapur. They're still not like fully practicing devotees. We can come maybe for 6 months, and then they stayed almost a year in New Mayapur, full-time doing service, and now they are renting a house in the village and they just want to settle down near New Mayapur. So the father came to visit his son, who was settling down in New Mayapur.
He opened the door and then he said, I came here. I came to buy that castle 30 years ago.
He had seen an advertisement in the newspaper in Paris, castle for sale on auction, and he was discussing with his friend in the office. Oh, let's go. Okay, we can maybe go and buy this castle, and they went to visit the castle.
Yeah, he had
that was
come to
funny.
buy the castle. But actually, he had spoke, and my husband remembered him. After I went home, and I told my husband, "Say, I remember that man." He had shown him everything, but he had explained him our situation, and he liked us after. And after 2 weeks, he phoned my husband, and he said, "No, actually, we're not going to buy. We know you want to stay."
Yeah, he said and he said, I remember all my life the way I was welcomed in this place, and the food that they gave me, we were so nicely received, and we had amazing food. And he said I always remembered how, and so he realized that actually these people, they want to keep the place, so they didn't buy it, but he would have. It was amazing. So many years, he couldn't believe it himself. Like, I came to this castle before. It was very funny.
Mother, we have heard that the deities are very they reciprocate. So would you be able to share like a couple of pastimes? Sorry.
I have seen one thing that I can say. It's a Farad story. Before we had Radha Govinda Madhava, then Jagannath used to come from Paris when he was sick.
Mm-hmm.
So because then they decided to have Radha Govinda Madhava, they had set up a third altar. First there was just two. They had set up a third altar in the middle. And so first he was sick, then we had Ratayatra on the property. We used to do small Ratayatra in Mayapur. And then they were put on the altar when they were no more sick. They were supposed to go back to Paris, but I think there was difficulty in Paris. And they stayed there a few months. So me, I was I was not at Pujari then, but I was Pujari because I liked it, and I used to do gopi dots on Krishna Balaram. And they were there, and so they stayed for a few months. I don't remember. There must have been difficulty in Paris temple. And one day I was doing the gopi dots. My friend was dressing on Krishna Balaram, and she said, "Oh, look, there is a tear in Balaram eye." So I was painting Krishna. I say, "Yeah, you're sure?" And I look, and there was one tear going down like that. I don't remember what she did. We were just stunned, So I look back at Krishna. I said, "Oh, Krishna also." One tear, one eye, one tear cannot. So me, I grab it. Little time to think. I grab it. I dropped it. But when I was young devotee. When we came out, we said to devotees, they were crying. And they say, "Oh, you speculation or everything." And that day, we got a phone call, and they came from Paris to get Jagannath. Jagannath left that day. So we thought, Krishna knew Jagannath was going to go that day. It's the most hard things I have seen. But I know some people were saying, why you're saying that? Maybe it's come from flower. Yeah, but I've been dressing for years. I've never seen a drop of water coming from the flowers. But it was the day Jagannath went back to Paris. They had a very, very far things. Very far. Krishna makes far things.
Mother Visesa, what happened when your mother saw the picture of you in that photo? Did she
She flipped out.
She came to see you.
She took some time, because at that time, the thing is, I had to go back to Canada because we were hitchhiking with my first husband and the baby. We came to visit Europe before we had another king. My husband was a musician and he wanted to see George Harrison, so that was his thing where he came. And so my mother was already desperate that I was a hippie. Then I was traveling hitchhiking with a baby in Europe. And then she saw my husband, he had long hair, you know, he was a musician. He had hair longer than me. He had hair up to here. But there was a photo. That photo is known. It's under the Tour Eiffel in Paris. And he's playing Mridanga, and the model is next to him. But because I like to embroider, so I, you know, when you're in love, so I embroidered him a shirt. And with roses and everything. So they say he should be on the photo because he had that nice kurta, you know. It was a kurta, but I made it and I embroidered it. So they decided he was going to play because he had that nice shirt, but he was just shaved up. And the model. So inside the magazine, here he was shaved up under Eiffel Tower next to. And my mother, she said, "Ah, but it's Robert, look at him, and he has no more hair." And after she turned, and it was me holding my baby in the forest in Paris. My parents are atheists, and they never change, you know. So they are not happy I became a devotee. But because I had children, so they were, I understand that because I'm grandmother, they were worried, the children, what will happen to the children, blah, 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 you know, you're not responsible, blah, blah, blah. They came to New Mayapur. My mother said it's a children paradise. But she said, you know, you're not realistic, your children are growing here, they will never be able to face life, you know, you're not doing your duty, you know, they won't be able to live in life, and what you're going to do when you're old, you know, you won't have any pension, you know, parents, you know, how they are. So, but they love you, so if you see you're happy, they tolerate the situation, they tolerate. But after she has seen the children, my children are all nice people, and they have grandchildren, they all have children who are nice. So my parents have come over the years and they have seen the result of that, and so it's good. So it's credit, you know. So for that they're happy. Even now she say, I know you know, and no, Krishna Mayu was somewhere else, and because we got sick with my husband 2 years ago, then all the kids, they start to flip out. So she moved back next to New Mayapur, which is great for her. And great for New Mayapur, I'm really glad. And another of my kids, she's going to move back also to New Mayapur. She's already is married to Bimala, Dhananjaya and Balagopal's son, and they are going to move back also. So I'm very happy. So it's good. My mother doesn't realize because they have a nice house that they bought in Amsterdam, you know, a nice and photo, you know, and he has a good job, and why are they coming to New Mayapur? But they are so. But they can see, you know, the grandchildren, great-grandchildren, everyone is nice. So for that, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
You never know. Your mother may phone you up, say, "Can you take me to Vrindavan?"
Yeah, no. You know what happened? Krishna is tricky. Krishna is very tricky. Now she's in a retired home, but she had a condominium, you know.
Yeah.
So you can see, she had a balcony, you could see. My father was still alive. Les témoins de Jehovah Witness, you know, coming.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So she saw them coming, and they buzzed to open the door. And they say, "Can we come?" And she said, "No, I am a Krishna." When she told me that, I thought, "Oh, Krishna tricked you." And because I have daughters, you know, and many, I have 4. So she used to call us les Krishnettes. So, you know, and first they didn't want to give money, but, you know, parents are there. So, and when I was a hippie, because I left them, you know, I left home, I was 18, I didn't want to know anything about them, and I didn't give them news for 6 months and everything. So they wanted to help me before, and I always refused, you know, I can't do it. You know. But, you know, when I was a devotee, you know, it's good to engage them. So for the children, she always sends things. And even once I get them to buy a cow,
Wow.
I say Satya, because Satya, my oldest daughter, is their first grandchild. So I'd say, oh, it will be so nice if Satya could have a baby car. Because one devotee, he got a muscle car from Switzerland, but there was a baby. But the baby it was a lot at that time, it was 500 francs. And the baby, she died. She had a herd after that. But I don't know, I say, oh, it will be so nice, Satya can have a car and everything. And she agreed, she paid for the car. So they make advancement. And they are always available. If I have a car, it's because my mother paid for it. I mean, I have no money. I always live in the temple. Krishna has always provided. I can say, surrender to Krishna. Krishna will take care of you. I'm the proof. I have traveled the world. I've been to India so many times. Never the temple paid for me. Huh? Krishna arranged. I got the money. And for my kids also is good example. They know we gave our life, and Krishna has always take care of us. I went to India maybe 35 times, and what I use actually is the money my mother sent me for my birthday. Every year she sent me like 1,000 francs, and I saved the money to go to India. She bought us her first computer and the first car and everything. So they didn't like my first husband, but actually they love my second husband. So it's good. And finally, I am on her will. I mean, I don't want her to die. My mother is still alive. And I don't want her to die, but I'm on her will. And first she was saying, but you're not going to give anything to Krishna. No, mommy. It's for you, it's for the children. Yes, I promise you. I was thinking, so you do like that. Yes, I promise. But Krishna arranged. I see those devotees from Poland now. I've been to one apartment, little tiny apartment in HLM.
Like social places.
Yeah, they're working hard. They all had to start working. Those people from the tour, they all have jobs. And I was just telling my husband, I'm so glad, you never had to go out to work, and we just serve in the temple, and Krishna maintained, and we had 4 kids, because I had 2 before, 2 after. Krishna always arranged. And I took my kids with me to India, and I took my kids to Poland. They traveled the world with me. Krishna arranged. Yeah. But I never took Krishna's money. Yeah. But Krishna arranged that I always got. Like I got a garland. I made so many garlands for him. And now I come here and I get garlands. I even got the jasmine garland. I was so surprised yesterday. I always ask Mayam, please bring jasmine. So you shouldn't be scared to give your life, your money, or everything to Krishna. When I was a hippie, I was flowery. I'm still flowery. But then they told me, if you give to Krishna, he will give you 1,000 times more. That's it. So I thought, oh, that's great. And once the temple was in trouble, and we were hippies, but I was working in a kindergarten. So I had a little bit money. They phoned. They said, oh, we have no money. There is deities. They are at le port. Comment on dit un port? Where the boat come.
The port?
Port, yeah. So I don't know. They find out that the devotee in the temple that there was Jagannath deities stuck somewhere in the port in Montreal, and they needed money to get them out. And I said, I was not a devotee. I love prasad. Yeah. I go to the Sunday feast. I don't miss a feast. But I told he was chanting, my first husband, he was already chanting. And he said, oh, the temple phone, no. He was not working, I was the one working. So I said, okay, I give money. They can go get Jagannath. Because I knew if you give, Krishna gives you. What's the problem? He's going to give you 100 times more. But it's true. I always tell my kids, and I tell my kids, when you go with your credit card and then you have to do your code. You say, thank you, Krishna, when you tap. And on the green things, you say, thank you, Prabhupada. And I tell all my kids, you have to do that. Because if you give to Krishna and you realize Krishna gave you all that, Krishna will always take care of you. And he does. He does. I'm a proof. I'm so glad my husband never had to go work, He just stay and serve. I mean, he's sick now, but he doesn't regret one drop of what we did.
No, he was the most hardworking devotee in
He's
Mayapur.
one of the heroes of France.
He was a
When
warrior.
you come next time, I know he's not going to come and see you at the temple. Maybe we should go and visit him, surprise him.
He doesn't like it.
He was very clever. He built wood stove to cook on because we had no more money. So he built in the kitchen a wood stove, and he went to cut the wood with the boys and everything, and we cook on wood. And after he built something to heat up water in the cave, in the boys' shower, and then I don't know, he knows all the pipe and everything, and then the water pipe was coming to the kitchen and to the girl ashram where they were taking their shower, and all that was done by wood, by hand. He was. But now we are glad. He was even telling me today, because I was saying they're collecting. And he said, yeah, it's Krishna is empowering them. We maintain with no money. We just maintain like that. No money. But no money is coming in. It's because of them. I'm very, very happy to have those young leaders. I can see they are dedicating their lives just like I did. And it makes me really happy. I'm really proud of them.
Thank you, Mother Visesa. Maharaj, would you like to say anything?
Oh yeah, you say.
No, I just came actually. It was an honor to hear from Mother Visesa. That was a bonus. I wasn't expecting that. Mainly, I just came to see Gandharvika and Lochan because they made such an endeavor to come here. I don't know what time you left on Saturday night.
We were distributing
Was it
prasadam
Sunday?
till midnight, and then we had a 2 hours nap and took a shower and then went to the airport. Arrived at 7:30 there, just to be in time at the manor for 10 o'clock. It was Krishna's mercy. This
They made such an endeavor to come and bless me, so I thought at least I should show my thanks and pay my gratitude to both of them. But it was amazing hearing from you. One thing that amazes me, I was listening to Mother Yamuna talking about Radhalandanishwara's installation, and it was so incredible the way she described it with detail. And I was just thinking, how can you remember that detail? And you find it with all of Prabhupada's disciples, like the way you're able to remember and recall details of what happened in the past. To me, it clearly shows that it's Paramatma who gives some kind of special memory, because ultimately those memories have to be heard by many generations to come. So it's almost like Krishna empowers the devotees to be able to remember and recall it, so we can all hear it. So yeah, these are the pastimes of Mahaprabhu. Yesterday I was saying about how Bhaktivedanta Thakur explains that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes are going on even today. And Prabhupada said that ISKCON is the latest chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So all of these stories, these are straight out of Mahaprabhu's Leela. And because the devotees, like Mother Visesa said, had such determination. Yesterday Indradyumna Maharaj was quoting the sannyas mantra. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, then he left Katwa. And as he was leaving and he wanted to go to Vrindavan, then he was chanting this mantra. Etam sa asthaya paratmanishtam Adhyashikam Purvatame Maharshi Bhi. That this verse is talking about how the Avanti Brahmana is saying that now I have this Paratma Nishta, this firm conviction that if I serve Krishna and if I dedicate myself to serving Krishna's lotus feet, then I'll be able to cross this ocean and attain this, the ocean of this world and attain this shelter. So that realization of Mother Visesa that if we dedicate ourselves, then Krishna will fully take care of us. It's not just theoretical, it's practiced in the life of the devotees. So yeah, I just really wanted to come and say thanks to both Gautam and Gandharvika for everything they're doing. I guess they're writing a book about the history of New Mayapur. But already I'm thinking that there's already a book that will have to be written in the future about what happened after New Mayapur was saved and all of these things going on now, because their lives are full of so many dramatic things happening, so many challenges, but somehow or other they're so incredible that they never lose that drive and determination and desire to serve and make New Mayapur work out the way it should be. So yeah, I guess I didn't come with so many things to say, just to say thank you. The glories to your service, and yeah, you're an inspiration to us. We hope whatever small service we can do for Mayapur is a great fortune.
Thank you, Maharaj. Bhaktivedanta, would you like to say? Sorry,
Are you still going to come to New Mayapur now? Will we be one of the village you're going to visit?
I think I need New Mayapur more than New Mayapur. When I come there, I get so much inspiration. So yes, Krishna.
Your permission, Maharaj, I'll say some words. I was thinking, okay, I'm going to speak something with when I saw Mother Visesa, my 50% of my preparation dropped. Okay, Mother Visesa can speak. And then when I saw Maharaj, I was thinking, okay, it's good, I can listen.